I'm Kim Bogart, and I'm the executive director of Kim's Open Door. And I believe that we have just experienced over the last several years just amazing, really miracles is how I look at it. And we are able to serve our community in such a beautiful way, but it's only because of the beautiful people here in Jacksonville, Florida, and some of my friends around the country. I just am so blessed because in 2012, I started serving in the public schools, and I just started doing after school clubs. And I fell in love with our city's kids. And I realized that there were needs in our city that I had no idea about. So what I did is I just started serving, doing after school clubs, mentoring, and taking teams and teams of people to the public schools. Well, in 2014, everything changed. See, I was sitting on my bed, it was June 2014, and the headlines on the news that day were that there were 31 shootings in 30 days here in Jacksonville, in my city, and it was all gang violence. And an 11-year-old girl was shot and killed. When I heard that, it was almost like lightning struck and went through my body. And I went in the next day and I quit a job that I loved and had loved for almost 15 years. And I said, look, I've got to serve the city. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to just serve these kids because our city is in crisis. You know, another great turn of events is within 2 weeks, I was called into a meeting with the mayor's department, Duval County Public Schools, and several other nonprofits. And I just sat back and listened to what the experts were saying that we needed. They said we need mentors, we need education tutors, we need faith community involved in our schools. And as I heard what they said, we just started meeting that need. Now, how we did that is it was in my house, and it was friends of mine who I had been going into the public schools with for years. And we just started serving the city, doing what the mayor and everybody else said. And now I had a nonprofit called Kim's Open Door ready because someone had promised me a building on MLK Boulevard. Now, who would not want a building right off of MLK? So I had to set up a nonprofit to receive that building. Well, that building had mold, so I didn't get it, but I had a nonprofit right there. So as we started serving the needs of the city, it has grown into a beautiful story that really has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people's lives knitted together to meet needs here in our community. So I want to just tell you a little bit about what we do first, and then I'm going to tell you some beautiful stories of lives that have literally been transformed just by the kindness of my friends. So first of all, we provide education. We really have noticed as we were in the community that many of the kids that we serve really needed help with education, especially in 32207, where I am now housed. In Faith United Methodist Church, we have a beautiful facility, which you'll get to see in just a minute. And so we provide education, and I realized, the Lord kind of showed me that education is the key to influence. And if I want influence in these families' homes and in our city even, that as I meet that educational need through after-school programming, in-school tutoring, and a full-time international school in the summer, it really gives us the influence to meet even greater needs and to share the gospel when appropriate. The second thing is we do arts. What I have learned, and you're going to get to hear some stories about that, is that art opens hearts. It's a way that people get comfortable in the arts and they just share their hearts. So education, the key to influence. The arts are the key to heart, and you'll get to hear a good story about that soon. And then we also provide nutrition, because I believe that if you're hungry, you're not going to hear anything I have to say. And so we feed families, over 100 families every single month. And sometimes during different seasons, we can shift to even do more than that. Nutrition is a key really for people to hear us. And then the third key is we build healthy community. We do it through outreaches and we do it through youth development. And I love for people to just come to our facility and meet the beautiful young people that are working for Kim's Open Door, because it's part of our program. We love to stack resumes. We love to give them all kinds of opportunities that they would never have if they weren't serving at Kim's Open Door. So we have a full thing, and that healthy community is really the key to discipleship, or leadership development is another way to say it. So come on with me and see all what we do here at Kim's Open Door. So this is our dance studio. It is one of my favorite spaces because I've seen lives be transformed through the art of dance and movement. I want to tell you a story about some lives that were really wrecked in a good way here at Kim's Open Door in our little dance studio. See, we had girls coming from the neighborhood. Some of the girls are African American who have grown up in Jacksonville, and some were girls coming from Africa. And those girls took a dance class on Wednesday nights here, and there were some really bad vibes in the room. In fact, a lot of the African girls that come to us at Kim's Open Door will say to me, "Miss Kim, why do the Black Americans hate us so much?" And many times there's not really a good answer. But in this dance class, these emotions were showing. These girls were literally threatening one another to beat each other up during dance class. So we almost shut the whole program down because it was just too much for us to handle, too much conflict resolution. We had the kids really in a survival mode, and it was really tough. But what we did is we decided, you know what, we're gonna shoot these girls dancing in a dance video. And the first thing we're gonna do is take them to the town center. They're gonna get a makeover, and hopefully this will bridge some of these problems that we're having. And sure enough, we loaded our little bus. We took these girls to the town center. And do you know, as they were getting those makeovers, some of the girls in the bus had never been out of their neighborhood. In fact, I heard as I was driving the bus, them saying, "This looks like a different city." So that is an eye-awakening thing right there. Kids right here in 32207 have never been out of this neighborhood. See, we serve a lot of immigrants and refugees, and these kids are brought here in crisis, and many times they just don't have time to get out of their zip code. They also don't have transportation. So these girls got to experience that. We made a beautiful dance video with these girls, and do you know, by the end of the project, they exchange text on a regular basis. So it's a beautiful thing. The arts really do change hearts. So come on with me and let's go in the art room. I'm going to tell you a beautiful story about some lives that were impacted through art. So two of the girls that were actually having this struggle in the dance class, it got so bad one day that I pulled the girls out and I turned on some Mozart and I handed them a paintbrush and some watercolors. And we just started talking. And do you know, immediately one of the girls said, "Miss Kim, did you know my dad had 8 wives in Africa?" And I said, "Honey, I know that happens a lot in Africa because I've been many, many times." And the other little girl immediately, without even thinking about it, without hesitation, said, "Miss Kim, did you know my family, they were executed, they were cut up and left in Congo, and that's why I'm here in America?" And I said, "Yeah, honey, I know about the Civil War." And it was at that moment that God showed me what a key that art is into the hearts of our students. It gives them a safe place to share and to just deal with the crisis that they've had or the trauma. And so we love our art room, and we love what happens in here. The kids have produced some beautiful pieces. Now I'd love for you to come into our reading room. See, this room, the reading room, it has a lot of great stories. In fact, even just this last summer, we got to teach kids to read some of their very first English words. And those are the things that happen every day. I love to tell the story about one of the girls that I met as I was delivering food in her apartment complex. And she just latched onto me and followed me everywhere I went and begged to come to Kim's Open Door. And once we got her here, we realized she wasn't reading English or Spanish, and she was going to one of our middle schools right down the street. Now, what that means is that for 8 hours every day, she's sitting in classes, speaking English and Spanish very fast, all mixed together, but she can't read English or Spanish. And ever since then, once we realized this, we have a private tutor that goes and does home visits. We're working closely with the school, and she got to read her first paragraph on video for me just recently. And so those are the kind of stories that happen right here at Kim's Open Door in this reading room. We love to use a research-based reading curriculum that was rewritten by the University of Florida. And we love teaching kids to read because we know that that's the way that they're really going to be able to be a success. We also have a recording studio, and it's not quite up to par of what some people would consider a recording studio, but I want to tell you, we've had local volunteers come and a few staff members work with kids from all different cultures, and they have produced some beautiful, beautiful things. It's all on our YouTube channel, Kim's Open Door YouTube channel, and these kids, as they write their own music, and they are experiencing being able to express their heart in music and dance. What's happened is beautiful because, see, in the public schools very close to here, there's a lot of bullying. The kids from Puerto Rico don't like the kids from Cuba. The kids from Honduras don't mix with the kids from Guatemala. The kids from this African country may not mix with these kids. And there is a lot of bullying and a lot of fighting. Well, here at Kim's Open Door, we get to speak life. We provide a safe place for them to really get to know one another. And them producing music and dance together has been absolutely beautiful. So this is one of our favorite creative spaces. Here we are in some of our classrooms that are just absolutely beautiful. And this is where our after-school programs take place in everything you've seen so far, and also these 3 classrooms. And we, a lot of times, are able to have elementary kids in these 3 classrooms, and they're getting private tutoring, doing homework, and working on reading and math skills, while we've got high school students in the other building. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful setup here. I'd like to tell you a story about one of our favorite young men. See, this young man came to Jacksonville because his mother was actually in slavery in Guatemala, and she was brought here through a beautiful program that World Relief had offered to rescue human trafficking victims. And her family came here, and this young man, he loved art, and he was a good artist. And just before Christmas, there was one night that a friend of mine called me and said, "Hey Kim, can you use a couch?" And I was like, "Oh, please, no, I cannot go get a couch. I'm too busy. I don't have time for that." And I said, "No, thank you. I don't have anywhere to give it." Well, the next day, this young man rode his bike about 2 miles to Kim's Open Door. When I saw him, I greeted him, and he looked really worried. And he said, "My apartment was just robbed, and they took everything, Miss Kim. I can't even go back to school unless I get some school supplies." So right then, of course, I stocked him with a school supply bag, and I heard his story. In fact, they didn't just steal his school supplies, his computer, they stole his couch, his TV, and everything except for their beds and their clothes. And so guess what Miss Kim did that night? I loaded up a couch and some other furniture that we gathered quickly, and we delivered a Christmas present to that family. What that story kind of told me, and hopefully my partners and friends that help Kim's Open Door, is that this is a safe place. It's a safe place where kids come when they're in crisis and trauma, and we want to do more. Well, I hope you enjoyed hearing some of the beautiful stories from Kim's Open Door, and I want to tell you, I want to invite you to be part of what God's doing here at Kim's Open Door. And you can do that by just going to our website and giving a monthly donation. That's going to connect us on a monthly basis, so you can really keep in touch with what we're doing and you can be a part of it. We also would love for you to volunteer, and you can fill out the application and the waiver right there at our website. And please follow us on Instagram and Facebook, because you just won't believe all the places that we are and all the good that we're doing because of people like you.